Kadash, giving all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh. This video, I wanted to talk about beliefs, doctrines, really just beliefs. So earlier I was watching a video about, let me step out real quick because my voice is kind of echoing. So yeah, step to a different place. Let me see where I could go. So I was just watching a video. Right, so I was just watching a video about some Israelites. It was Israelites having a debate with, I believe, Catholics, right? And they were going back and forth with different points. The Catholics, of course, they was completely whack out. Like, just everything they said, it was completely indoctrinated. Anybody could see it. The Israelites just completely handled them. But the thing that I noticed is just, no matter what the Hebrew Israelites said, proved, went in the Bible to show, they was never going to change the mind of the Catholics. The Catholics was going to believe what they wanted to believe no matter what. And then there was a guy, he was an ex-Hebrew Israelite, but he was a Hebrew Israelite before, and then he had went back to being a Catholic, right? Which makes sense because he was a Hispanic guy. So all it is was he came into some truth, I would say, fell out of it and went back to being what majority of his people is, what happens to be Catholics. And what a coincidence why they're Catholics, because that was what was beaten in them, that was what was given to them. The same reason why most blacks are Christians, right? Because they were conquered. But that revealed something to me, that it's you could believe whatever you want to believe. And from my research and my history and my research of history, you're not going to change. If a person don't want to change their belief, you're not going to change what a person believes. And it doesn't matter, because the Catholics said one thing. They said, in order for you to be saved, the one guy tried to use this, like if it was going to work or something, you have to basically believe in the Trinity, even though the Bible doesn't say that at all. The Bible never says that you have to believe in the Trinity. Now, they try to go in the Bible and say, well, the concept of the Trinity, but you saying that you have to believe in the Trinity, right? Okay, cool. But everybody says that. If you don't, that's what it comes down to. If you don't believe what we believe in, then you're not going to be saved, because we got the truth. And in order for you to get saved, you have to believe in what we believe in. Even amongst the Hebrew Israelite camps, they all say the same thing too. Right. And I used to see big groups in the Hebrew Israelites, and I used to be like, man, they just going off, bro. They going to get what's coming to them. But now I'm not even on that point. Now I'm just to the point where I'm like, it's like almost like you see a sucker, get a sucker. Like the dude that was a Hebrew Israelite that went back to being a Catholic. He had Caesar Borgia tattooed on his arm. How are you an Israelite, or were an Israelite, a Hebrew Israelite at one time, but you got Caesar Borgia still tattooed on your arm? So either two things. You got that tattoo after you left the Hebrew Israelites, which is crazy, because if you became a part of Hebrew Israelites, you got the knowledge that that image was of Caesar Borgia, and that's not the real image of who they call Jesus in the Bible, right? Yahushua in the Bible, right? Or if you got it before, then you would have definitely got it covered up. But he had it at the point of the interview, which is crazy, right? Which showed me that it don't matter what information, what proof, what evidence you give a person, they gonna believe what they want to believe, right? And you can't change that, right? And then he was saying, like calling Mary his mother and stuff like that, right? So he went all the way back into that. Now, the point of this video is that this is so true, and this is all my years being in what we call the so-called truth, right? Or researching and searching for the truth. This is what I came to. This is the conclusion, right? Now, I done been on the highways and byways. I done been to different camps. I did all that. So I'm not talking out my ass. I'm talking about from experience. You see what I'm saying? Now, this is what I learned. It don't matter about evidence. It don't matter about proof. It don't matter about belief. It do not matter. I know some of y'all, oh, he just said that belief don't. It does not fucking matter. What matters is power. Now, that's where belief and evidence and those things come into, because I'm not canceling out belief. You just got to hear what I'm saying. The belief comes into obtaining power. So just like with the Catholic Church, right? They have a belief. They use that belief and get other people to believe in what they believe, but it has to equal power. This is the problem with the Hebrew Israelites. There's a lot of different beliefs and what you believe and what you do this and what you think, what your research shows, right? But there's just no power, and that's always been my how would I say it? Like, one of my issues with the Hebrew Israelite movement is we're not seeking to get power, and you have to. Now, people based on a belief say you have to wait for that power, and then some people say no, actually you have to get the power, because in Exodus it said, well, in Exodus, in Daniel it says the saints of the Most High should take the kingdom, but in Exodus it shows a picture of us leaving. We left on our 2 feet. Everybody got 2 feet, right? We all left on our feet out of Egypt. And we took the gold with us. So we took a form of power, wealth with us, right? And we had to have faith in the Lord. And the Lord gave us more power to escape that Egyptian army that was coming after us. That was something physically that we had to do. Because the power lays in us. We don't have to fight. We don't have to like go to war. Literally, like to take down America, literally all we got to do is leave, which is that's the reason why we have the book of Exodus that's telling us how to get out of slavery and captivity. The number one book that teaches you how to get out of slavery and captivity is what on earth? It's Exodus. That's the story. That's the example. So if we want to get out of captivity and slavery, guess what we need to do? It's already a blueprint set there for us, which is the Bible. It tells us how to do it. We literally do the exact same thing our ancestors did in Egypt, and we would get the same results. But you got a lot of guys that's scared. Well, Esau's going to come after us. Well, the Egyptian army came after us. Or Esau's going to infiltrate it. You don't think that the Egyptians were around to try to infiltrate this thing happening? No, you got to have faith. You think all the Egyptians, they was just, Moses kept going back and forth to Pharaoh. Pharaoh didn't send any agents to infiltrate. He didn't flip any Israelites to give him a heads up and tell him that, there was going to be a such thing called a Passover. And then after that, the Israelites was going to leave. He was just dumb as fuck. He just didn't know that it was going to happen. Like, come on with the bullshit, man. Every excuse that you can make for us leaving America, leaving Babylon, mystery Babylon, modern day Egypt, spiritual Egypt today, they had all those same things going on back then during the original Exodus. So you just use it as excuses. All my research led to that's what we have to do. We can't build because we can't build power here because they foot is on our neck. The same way our ancestors couldn't build power in Egypt because they had the Egyptians' foot on their neck. They had to leave. Then they went to the wilderness, and then that's where they got the laws, which is a form of power because the laws give us power. That's what makes us powerful because it's coming from the most high power. You see how it works? Then when we were able to be in the wilderness and get corrected, because that was a time of correction, and it also talks about this in Ezekiel. I'm not reading them, but I'm just quoting them. It talks about this in Ezekiel where it says, just like during the time of Egypt, or like our fathers in Egypt, the Lord is going to take us out and he's going to cause us to pass under the rod. What's that? What is the rod for? It's used for correction. So even prophecy say this is going to happen again. But the difference is most people think that we got to wait to just a random time. But the Bible is telling us, really, if you get to the New Testament, I'm Old Testament only now, but when you get to the New Testament, and then even saying Old Testament only is, I don't know if I really agree with that term. I'm Old Testament, but if things are requoted in the New Testament, those things are still true because it's requoted from the Old Testament. But some people say, well, then you just need the Old Testament, and I could agree with that, right? So, but it talks about, now the New Testament kind of switches it and make it seem like you have to just wait. But the Old Testament kind of it puts it more on the people. The king, like it says, like, what's that? Hosea 5:15. The Lord is waiting on us to remember, to repent. Jeremiah 50. Then the house of Israel and the house of Judah should come together. So it's showing something where it's like, once we do these things, the Lord is going to be there with us. But the New Testament kind of switches it to no, we have to wait for the Lord to do it, and then we be there to follow whatever the Lord got going on. The Old Testament kind of make it like no, you have to do these things and believe that the Lord is going to be there. So I think that's the two differences that's going on. But it led me to say that it's all about the power, because no matter what you say, because the Hebrew Israelite side in that debate, they were kind of like speaking about some of the things that the Catholic Church has did. But you're not going to change that guy's mind from wanting to be in the Catholic Church, because you want to know what the Catholic Church got? Power. I think the Catholic Church is evil, wicked. You know what I mean? They made up a lot of lies about a lot of different things, changed, hid things, but it don't matter what I think. You know why? Because they got power. That's what I see in the world. It's about power, man. Just like the people in the Middle Eastern that's claiming to be Israel, the Israelites. It people, you could, us knowing that they're not the real Israelites and that we're the real Israelites does not matter at all, because guess what they got? They got power. It only matters if we start using that information to get power. You see what I'm saying? If you just using it just so people know it, then it don't matter. That's like having knowledge and applying knowledge. I know a lot of people that know what's right, that knows the truth, that has knowledge, but they don't know how to apply it when it happens. I know a guy that's like, let me give you an example. That's like, you got the knowledge to know it's bad to deal with another man's wife because you can have problems from that, and that goes into the laws, right? But when the time comes up and he is presented the opportunity to deal with another man's wife, he still deals. Now he knows, he got the knowledge that it's a bad thing to do and the consequences that could come behind it. But when the time come up, he doesn't apply that knowledge. He actually commits adultery. See what I'm saying? So with the Hebrew Israelite community, what I'm seeing is there's knowledge there, but there's not application of that knowledge. You see what I'm saying? And that's the problem. That's the difference between us and our ancestors. They actually applied the knowledge. You see what I'm saying? But the Catholic Church, so back to the Catholic Church got power though. They got power to do the things they do. They got power, real power on earth. And that power comes in different forms, whether it's relations, whether it's money, whether it's wealth, whether it's army, force. They got real power behind they belief. You see what I'm saying? And that's, Esau did a great job in America cutting off the power from the black man. In the Hebrew Israelite community, we're also affected by these different tactics that Esau did. It's called divide and conquer. It's that simple. He keep us divided over beliefs, and he keep us conquered and with no power. See, and then he set up his police force with his laws, so the power can't rise to the top. See, this is what happens in nature, and this is how the Lord sets it up. Two lion clans, two different beliefs, or you can even take chipmunks or gorillas. Two different clans, two different beliefs. The belief that wins at the end, that rules, there has to be something called a war. When that war happens, whoever wins the war, that's the belief that rules in whatever area. So naturally, that happens naturally though in nature, right? So naturally with black people, right, this is what will happen. I'm finna break it down. This is knowledge. Listen up, write this now, right? So this is what happens. You get all the black people, let's just say in Chicago, in the hood, right? This is what will happen. You will have Hebrew Israelites, you will have Old Testament only commandment keepers or whatever you want to call. You will have Nation of Islam, you have Christians, you will have Catholics, right? Just an example of a couple. You have Egyptians, you will have Kemet, you will have, right? Eventually, it would be a lot of going back and forth on what's true or not. Eventually, there will be war that will happen, physical war. And this is how the Lord naturally selects who's going to be a rulership, right? And then from that war, you would get the cream. Let's say the cream will rise to the top, right? And then whatever they doctrine was, That would be the ruling doctrine, and then eventually that will weed out all the rest of the doctrines. But what Esau did, he set up a police force with rules, so now you can't do that, right? Because then what do? They get you on RICO, they take you to jail for breaking the laws, and then they break this down, so they keep everybody kind of at a same level under the disguise of equality, but really equality is taking away our power, right? Because it's taking away the cream rising to the top. So it's just like with the gangs, there's no gang that really got a strong amount of power because they're broken up. They're divided and conquered so much because Esau's taking out all the heads, and if they get too big where they could get power over the rest of the other ones, where the rest of the gangs have to join this game, have to be absorbed. And see, that's the word. They will be absorbed by this game. They can't get big enough to the point where now they could say, I could fight against Esau because we're strong and we built up enough, because Esau keeps them divided and conquered. He keeps chopping them down anytime they try to build up big enough to fight against him. He really trying to play God with the whole story of the Tower of Babel. That's what Esau does. So instead of all the people having one language and getting to a point where they could try to go against God, coming together, because look, when you read the story of the Tower of Babel, the people would get so strong, at least in their minds, because they were united together, that they could conquer God. But that's a problem. That's a bad thing, actually, right? But now Esau is sitting in that seat now, like, I'm not gonna let like the black people, the Israelites, let's say Israelites, get so strong where they could fight against us. What's going to make them so strong to fight against Esau? The same thing they thought during the Tower of Babel that was going to make them so strong. Unity. So the Lord split them up with differences of language. Esau is splitting us up with difference of beliefs. So even when you come to the religious side with the different camps, it's 1,000 different camps. So what would happen with the camps, right? You would have 1,000 different camps, and then you would have some camps that would be bigger. You might have, let's just say you got 10 camps that's bigger than all the rest of the camps. You got 10 major camps. So what would happen is that all the small camps will be absorbed by the big camps. The big camps will fight and be merged into one. And then eventually you may have 1, 2, 3, or maybe even just one big camp. You will have unity by the selection process. But you can't have that because anybody could go and just pick up a book and start their own campus, get their own brand, get their own t-shirts with their brand on it, get their YouTube. You see what I'm saying? So we're not forced by selection to have to come together, but that forcing by selection to have to come together is actually where the unity and power come at. So we're not going to be united because everybody could just sit behind a camera on YouTube and just talk shit about whatever they beliefs in. They don't care about it. The truth don't matter because it's not being forced to matter. You see what I'm saying? It's not being forced to matter. Now, what the Hebrew Israelites teach is that in the future it will be forced, right? They say when Yahushua come back, he gonna force you to get down, lay down. What I was talking about, he gonna cause you to pass on the rod, and everybody's gonna be corrected to what the truth is. But that's kind of like backwards to me, where it's like we gotta wait and then it's gonna happen. I think it's more on us, right? The kingdom of heaven is in us. It's more on us to do this, right? And believe that the Lord is going to be there with us, right? Just like it was our ancestors when they came out of Egypt, it was on them to be united to come out of Egypt. And they were united and came out of Egypt, even though there was some differences there. But this goes to my example that I'm saying, right? Because you had differences where people didn't believe in what Moses was saying. They didn't want to follow Moses, but they had to, because what? Moses had the majority on his side. The majority was united, so the minority gets absorbed in. And that's the same problem that we're having here in America. We're the minorities here, so we gonna get absorbed into being Christians. We gonna get absorbed in. So when you really think about it, it's really not even about the beliefs or the proofs or the facts, unless those are being used to gain power. It's really about the power. You see what I'm saying? Because many people gonna have many beliefs and stuff like that, right? But even in the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, let's just say they say Yahushua is gonna come back, right? because I believe in Yahweh. Yahweh, I believe Yahweh Shai was a leader during his time. So I can't say I don't believe Yahweh Shai existed. I do believe Yahweh Shai existed. I believe he was a leader, whether he was right or wrong in some of the things he thought he was a leader during his time. But the Most High God, and the one that is God, and the one that created earth, let's just say it that way, is the Most High God, Yahweh. Yahweh Shai did not create earth. The New Testament may allude to it and say it that way, but the Old Testament, if you read, like if you read in Isaiah, it says that Yahweh, if you go into the word God there, it's going to go back to Yahweh, and it's going to say that Yahweh created earth. Yahweh created Israel, and it speaks about not giving nobody else, no other God, credit. So even Yahweh Shai, you cannot give him credit for creating earth. The only one you can give credit to for creating earth is Yahweh. But that's going to be an argument between doctrine, right? So, hey, believe what you want to believe, because what this whole video is about is about power at the end of the day. You believe whatever you want to believe. But even if you say that Yahweh Shai is going to come back, and then, you know, what's that Luke where it says where you're going to have to force to worship, force to get down, or bring him before me and kill and slay him before me if he don't want to follow, right? So it's still showing you power. It's showing you power. It's showing Yahweh Shai, even if you say Yahweh Shai and this is what you believe, it's not saying that Yahweh Shai is going to come back and then, okay, we going to debate doctrine and then prove who doctrine is real. No, it's just saying that he's going to come back with power, and whatever he says it is, then that's what it's going to be. So it even shows what I'm saying is real. It's all about the power. But if you Old Testament only, then that happens more in a natural way. But Esau is keeping us, he's stopping us from that happening. And this is why it was so important for our ancestors to leave out of Egypt, because they were faced with the same problems that we had. They had another nation that had the boot on their neck. The only way that they could grow powerful enough to go back to the land during the time of Joshua and take the land back, it's a process. You have to grow. That's the reason why there's a second wilderness, because you can't just, oh, we got power now. Oh, we all turned to Superman and now we shooting lightning out our hands. Brothers used to believe that. It don't work that way. It's a time period. We have to go and grow as a people and come together under one accord and have light mindset as a people. And then we gain power from that unity. And then we can come back and fight for our way of life, or what we think. So really, what your way of life or your doctrine, it don't matter. It matters about the power that you got to erect that power, that belief over the world, right? So it's just like I always allude to like the movie Black Panther. It's like they were unified. The unity is what gets you the power. The law, statutes, and commandments, all the law, statutes, commandments wrap up into unity. One word to describe the law, statutes, commandments is unity. How to be unified. So the whole big picture is us being unified. That's where the power comes in at. Doctrine is not the power. So they say, how can we come together if we got different doctrines? We only have to agree on one thing in the beginning, which is coming together. Once we come together, all the weaker doctrines will get weeded out and the cream rise to the top. Right? But Esau is stopping that from happening. He wants us to be divided, conquer, arguing. So therefore, see, this is how Esau took over America. Ask yourself, how was the white man able to come to America and take it over? Let me tell you how. Because the Native Americans were what? Divided. So Esau came as a unified front, a unified army, right? So he could go take down the Blackfoot. Right? After he take down, rest, regroup, rebuild, then go take down the Cherokee. Then go take down the how you say, the Samoan, the Seminoles, Black Seminoles, which was a unified group, kind of like the Hebrew Israelite thing of Hispanics and natives and blacks. Do your research on the Black Seminoles, right? But so he was able to kind of like, since they was already divided, fighting against each other, he was able to do little tactics, pit them against each other, wait till the war was over and then go conquer whoever was left over, wait till they was weak and go conquer. Or even if he was lose battles, because Esau was losing battles too, where he had to retreat. But when they retreat, they just regrouped and then came back and kept coming back until they won. You see what I'm saying? Because let's just say a Native American tribe might be, they fighting against Esau that's coming over here trying to conquer their land, but then they got the other enemies, which is the other Native American tribes. It was too much for them. So Esau just kept expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding, getting natives to flip and give up details and come to their side. But the thing that gave Esau the power is that he was unified when he came. It don't matter the doctrines and the belief. And the same thing with Esau today. You got the left, you got the right, you got liberals, you got all different types of beliefs. And it's always been that way. But they become unified with the U.S. Army, and that's how they keep power, right? Even though that's slipping, that's changing. They getting so divided now with the whole left and right thing that you starting to see them slip and come down. So being divided is what's taking the power away from Satan. Being unified is what's giving the power to Satan. So it's the same thing remain true about us. The doctrine, the beliefs, and all that has to, I'm not saying it don't matter. What I said is that it matters if it's being used to gain power. But what's more important than those things is unity. The laws teach us unity. Not, the laws don't say be divided and conquered. It teaches us unity first, right? Now you could say, okay, well, there's differences on what the beliefs of the laws is. And that's why I would say the first thing that we have to the first thing that we have to agree with, the first important thing that we have to agree with is that we need to be unified. Then everything else comes after. But if we keep using doctrine and belief to keep us divided, then we will never be unified and we will never have power. And you're going to see it. And it's just, let me give you another example. The astronauts, they went out, bro, and we could debate about this. They got on that ship. They went to what they call outer space, what we call the heavens. They went around the moon. Now you could debate, you could say, well, we don't got no proof that they went around the moon. We got some pictures and images and some videos, right? But you don't have better proof to disprove it, right? You got to use their evidence to try to put out anomalies and, you know, try to point out stuff and say, look at this, look at that. Go get your own evidence. Don't use their evidence to try to disapprove what they got. Go get your own evidence. So the best proof that we got is what's coming from them. They went around the moon. They came back. They showed the thing coming into the atmosphere. I seen the craft, the little pod. I seen it coming down with the parachutes. Did I see it in person? No, but there are people that did see it in person. And there's people that's outside of that whole NASA thing that got telescope. That I don't know if you would say film with a telescope, but they got telescope evidence, and they actually found the craft while it was in space. So that evidence, until you get better evidence that is false, that's the evidence that we got, and that actually disproved a lot of, you know, like religious beliefs and stuff, especially when it comes to the firmament. But with that being said, you still got people, because I see it on social media all the time. They got whole groups, pages with thousands of comments of them arguing about flat earth and firmament. You can't get out the firmament. You can't make it to the moon and all that type of stuff. They arguing about that. And even with all the best evidence that we got, you still got people arguing against it. It's fake. No, they didn't. There was no astronauts on the rocket. Just, and that proved to me that you can't change a person's mind. When they believe something, that's what they believe. It is what it is. And that kind of showing me that belief is not what's the most important thing. The most important thing is unity. That comes first, right? Because belief will tell you that, okay, there was an Israelite, and I really don't like talking about it because I don't like to disrespect, like, so who we call Yahushua, who the word calls Jesus. Me personally, I believe he was a Hebrew Israelite during his time. He was just a leader, and they had beliefs, and I believe they made up. Well, the scriptures is showing, because the actual man, Yahushua, we don't really know what he believed, because we ain't getting nothing directly that we could confirm that was directly written by his hand. Now, the Romans, which most people say could have took those writings and changed them, or put out those writings that you have, which is called the New Testament, right, to deceive the people. So they could have said that he said something. That don't mean that he said it. Just because you read in Matthews that Yahushua said something, that is not proof that he said it. It's just proof that there's a book called Matthews that is saying that he said it, but it don't prove that he said it. A person, if you don't have something that you could prove that come directly from me, a person could come 20, 30 years from now and say that I said something and write a book. You see what I'm saying? And we seeing that even more with the use of AI. Every time I get on social media with AI, there's a statement saying that Cardi B just said something about her husband. We don't know if it's true. Get on YouTube right now. It's a whole bunch of information coming out about Floyd Mayweather being broke. He got this, that, he got that. He owed this person, he owed that person. He's going broke. He don't have no more money. You don't know if none of this. I see everybody in the comment. Floyd ain't came out and really said nothing because I think he's doing it for more promotion. He letting everybody talk. And then with his fight against Mike Tyson, he going to come out and prove everybody wrong that he's not really broke, right? But if you just read what the title of the video say, you're going to be like, damn, bro, Floyd really got broke? He really broke? But you ain't actually go research and really prove that he was broke. You just going off what the title of a video said. And then with the AI, bro, they be having AI videos of somebody saying something, but it's not the real person that said it. It's just a made up video, but people really believe it and think it's real. You see what I'm saying? So if we can see that even much more today, how about 2,000 something years ago, man? Anybody could have said, anybody said something. You can't prove it. You can't prove it. You see what I'm saying? So this is the thing. That's why you can't argue about doctrine and belief so much, right? The heart is wicked. Who could know that thing? That's where I'm getting belief from. Belief is just coming from your heart. So which one is it? Do we go off what we just believe, or is the heart wicked? Which one is it? So when it says the heart is wicked, that means don't go off just your belief. You got to go off the facts, man, the evidence, the proof. You see what I'm saying? And if you can't prove something, it's okay just to say, I can't prove, I don't know. I can't say if this is real or not. I don't know because I can't prove it myself. I ain't seen the proof. I ain't seen the evidence. And then there is another thing where you go with the best evidence that's available, right? But evidence is different than belief because a lot of people take, well, we got first century Christians that believe this and that. They take things that it still falls under the belief to say that it's evidence. You see what I'm saying? But what's more important than all that? Unity. Because, look, man, I'm going to tell you this. See, this is why I stopped talking about like directly about like big camps now, because what I said earlier, you see a fool, get a fool. And that's what I was explaining about the guy that was a Hebrew Israelite that converted back over to being a Catholic. The Catholic Church, they seen a fool, they got a fool. I can't even blame them no more. He wanted to go back into that. Even in the Hebrew Israelites on the other side was trying to break it down to him. Once again, trying to show him. But he was getting offended at the things they were saying about the Catholic Church. So he blotted out his ears. He didn't even want to hear anything to disprove the Catholic Church. He didn't want to hear it. So I can't be mad at the Catholic Church for seeing a fool and getting a fool. He choosing to be a fool. It's a difference from a guy that's trying to research, trying his best to get the best knowledge, the best evidence, to come up with the best conclusion that he can to a guy that's fighting it, that don't want to see it. You see that with the Hebrew Israelite camps. You see it like I was going down to a camp in St. Louis. It's so many things that's been proven false about their doctrine, but they still believe they got 100% truth because somebody else just told them they did. Somebody over them, higher than they look up to, told them they did. Even though you could prove literally with the scriptures things that they got wrong. But it don't matter. They still got 100% true because that's what they've been told. So it's like, at that point, it's like, you see a fool, get a fool. I can't, what I'm gonna do is sit there and argue and be like, man, y'all some fools, bro. I could prove that this is wrong. I could prove with the Bible that the Old Testament says that Yahweh is, and no other, which I'm just quoting it. You have to look it up yourself, but pretty much saying don't give no credit to no name outside of Yahweh. It don't matter in heaven, out of heaven, under heaven, on earth. Yahweh created the earth. Then we could go to Colossians 1 where it says, oh, well, Yahweh didn't create anything. He just created Yahweh Shai, and Yahweh Shai created the earth and everything. No, but the Old Testament says that Yahweh did. That can be proven. But you know what? It don't matter because people going to believe what they want to believe. So if you see a fool, get a fool. I can't be mad at the Christian church for making millions, or some of the Hebrew Israelite camps for making millions off the people. You want to be a fool, then hey, get a fool, because let's just say they make millions of dollars. People say, man, that's crazy. They stealing all that money from the people. Man, that money don't belong to the people in the first place. It belongs, render to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. If you're if you believe in the New Testament, it belongs to Esau. So because they took $1,000 of Esau money that belongs to him from a grandma, now we supposed to be sad. The money belongs to them. That's not power. Power is when we get our own money with our faces on it, or our own gold or coins or whatever we going to use with our faces on that we got power over. You see what I'm saying? So I'm to the point where it's just like, the arguing gotta stop, man. So what? If this person want to be a fool and want to believe what they want to believe, go ahead. Let them believe what they want to believe. If they end up repenting and they come to the truth, then you got to wait for God to do that for them. You see what I'm saying? You got to wait for it. That's not in your hand. You can't control another person that way. But I do see, once again, I'm in with this, the tactics that Esau do. Esau got a law set up to keep us divided and conquered. The harsh reality, because everybody asks, like, how we all supposed to come together? That's the question that be asked. We got different beliefs. How are we all supposed to come together? What's supposed to happen is, in nature, this is what happened. You can look at it with chimps. You can look at it with lions. You can look at it with ants, ant wars, bees. What happens is, in nature, and this is how the Lord set it up, because the Lord created nature. This is what happens. It's called natural selection. This is what happens. This is how we all supposed to come together. Beliefs turn to wars, and the victors are respected / feared, and it's like a get down or lay down type thing. Look, the Lord gave us power to be victorious in these wars. That same thing Esau did. That's why he's the king of the earth right now, because you could believe whatever you want to believe, but they got power though. And guess who gave them that sword? The Lord gave them that sword and gave them that power. So whatever Esau believes would not matter if it wasn't for that sword that they was blessed with. They was blessed with the power to enforce what they believe. You see it in Saudi Arabia. It's different beliefs, but guess what? Them royal families, various different royal families, they got what? They got power. So what they say, that becomes law. That's how it works. And that's what I done got from my research, man. That's where I'm at right now in my journey. It's supposed to beautifully turn to war. And the victors, see what happened is the people that win, they so powerful that a lot of people start to switch to their side out of survival. And the smaller 1,000 different doctrines that is creating the divide and conquer get weeded out. Those ones get weeded out because they're not powerful enough to stand. They get weeded out and they get absorbed by the victors, by the ones that was victorious. That's how it works in nature. We can't do that. Like just like you take Chicago, so what would happen in Chicago, right? You got different gangs, various different gangs. So what would happen is there will be war, there would be bloodshed. But that war, and this is what the Bible is teaching us, and this is what the whole story from Adam and the fall of man, this is what it's coming down to, a sin. So what it is you got to go through the darkness to get to the light. So what would happen is they would fight, there would be death, blood spilled, killings, all that. And at the end, the cream will rise to the top. And then eventually they will be so strong that their things will become more peaceful, because there is no, you sound saying there is nobody else to fight against them. They already been conquered. And then there will be unity and things will be peaceful. That's how even when you look at the movie Black Panther, the next Black Panther, he had to fight for it. That was, blood was being spilled. He was almost killed. He had to get up there and fight to be the leader. That's how it works. You can't get it without it. So that's the same thing. If you look at the ghettos, what will happen is, I see this in my, the hood I come from. It's two main gangs, but it's like a couple other little small gangs. one gang is stronger than the other gang. You could clearly see it in the hood that I come from, right? So what happens is you get a lot of members that start switching up because we really all like be related, like we be cousins. It'd be weird. It's like your cousin a part of this gang, and then you're a part of this other gang that's against the gang that your cousin in. But half of the members of the other gang, it's your cousins. That's how it be. That's how it be. So it's like, or you grew up with them or something like that. Y'all was once cool at some point. That's how it happens, right? So what would happen is, and you kind of seeing that in my hood is like the stronger gang. It don't matter about what the different beliefs was. They all had different beliefs and different things, but the stronger one is kind of absorbing all the weaker ones. And now they start to become more unified by force, by natural selection. So that would be the same thing that would happen amongst the camps. It would happen like that. And the ones that was more victorious, more stronger, it would happen. But they kind of trying to do it without causing that. You are not going to get anything done on earth without war. And the Bible tells you that there has to be a war even for our kingdom to be set up. Everything has to go through war. So there's a period of time where blood has to be shed and war has to be full on for the good to come out. What I say, before you get to the light, you got to go through the darkness. So in the hoods, that's what would happen. There would be war, and then eventually there would be unity, which would cause peace. You cannot get peace and light without going through the darkness, without going through that war. And I think that's what the Bible has been explaining to us. That's why the Lord is, he creates good and evil, darkness and light. The Lord could have just created light, but he created darkness too. The darkness is just as important as the light, because you can't get to the light without going through the darkness. So that's what's causing us. Esau is in the way. He's causing us to be divided and conquer, where that natural selection process of war can't happen. Because what Esau gonna do, he's gonna come lock everybody up. If y'all go to war, he's gonna come lock both sides up. And that's gonna keep y'all at a level where y'all both weak and divided and conquer. It's a good thing for those two sides to go to war, because one side is gonna win and then eventually absorb the other side, and then eventually you have something called unity and more power. Esau's not allowing that to happen, which leads back to what I said. We have to leave first, and then that could happen. Then we could build up. What you think happened in the wilderness? There was a majority. And then with the golden calf, they kind of rebel, and but Moses had to keep order because Moses had the majority on his side. And he came down with what? The law, statutes, and commandments. If we had one word to sum up the law, statutes, and commandments, what would it be? Unity. He came down with unity, a way for unity. Then we were strong enough, but it took time. That's why nobody questions why did we have to be in the wilderness so long? Because we had to be built back up in the wilderness. It took time. And then when we got strong enough, what we did, the Lord said, okay, it's time. Y'all strong enough. Then we went back and took back over our land, Israel. That's how it happens. On earth today, the camps will fight it out. The cream will rise to the top. The rest of the smaller camps will be absorbed. We wouldn't be divided and conquered anymore. We'd be unified. And then over time, we would get more powerful. We would get more advanced. We would get more knowledge. And then we'd be strong enough to go take our land back. And Esau not going to let that happen. With that, I'm going to say salvation to the elect.